All right, we have one of the bright welterweight prospects in our sport joining the program right now. He returns to action next Wednesday, October 14th, in the main event of CES 61. He's going to take on Nick Alley. Happy to be joined by the undefeated John Gotti III. John, how are you, man?
Doing great, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a crazy year for MMA, for sports in general. Things were shut down for a bit, and that includes a lot of the regional MMA scene in the United States. CES is getting back after it for the first time since January, a card that you were on. But how excited are you to get back to work and do so in the main event of this return card for the promotion that you spent your entire pro career competing for?
I'm very excited. It's been, like you said, it's been a long, 6 months since my last fight. Nothing to do but to train and to improve my game. So, I'm eager to show it, October 14th. And I think it'll be a good fight. It's going to be a good show.
How have you been dealing with the pandemic and training and trying to stay sharp with everything that's been going on?
Well, I continued training right on through after my last fight, right away. And then we got hit with the pandemic and gyms started shutting down and all this other crazy nonsense. So I'm fortunate I have like a little bit of space at home to do my training and get my extra work in. So I just continue training normally and would set up appointments with my trainers, individual work and whatnot. And we made it work, and we trained hard these last 6 months. So I feel really good.
Are things back to normal now in New York? Are you able to get back into the gym and work with your team a little bit more?
It's starting to get semi-normal in some gyms. Other gyms, no, you still have to wear the mask all the time, so it's extremely difficult to get workouts in wearing a mask. But we're doing what we could do, I guess. It's what it is, but you have to work around it. It's times that we're in right now.
Yeah, and you're part of the Long Island MMA team that includes guys like Brian Kelleher, who I've talked to a million times. He's super high on you as a teammate and a fighter. But to see how active he's been throughout all of this, how motivating has that been for you to see that this has not slowed him down at all? In fact, this has probably been his biggest year as a fighter in terms of namesake and activity.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. He looks like he's having a great time out there. He's being active. He looks good, and he looks more comfortable with the no audience. So I'm eager to see how that feels, fighting with no fans and whatnot come October 14th. But yeah, it's really motivating, man. It makes you want to get out there and just perform.
I was at your last fight. You took on Marcos Loreda, the most experienced fighter that you've faced in your career. You picked up a unanimous decision. Right. And most people expect you to go in there and finish fights in the first round. You have done so your previous 4 fights. But how much experience do you think you're able to gain from that fight with a guy like Marcos, veteran savvy, knows some different kinds of tricks through his experience, and just taking on a guy like that? What did you take away from that fight?
Oh, it took a lot from that fight. Like you said, he's a veteran in his own right. He has 13, 14 fights that he fought since my last fight as well, and he won last week. I watched. So he's been around the scene. He's hungry. He was hungry, to come and take that W. And I got put in a lot of difficult situations in that fight and had to fight through it. So all you could gain is experience from that type of fight. That's exactly the type of fight I needed at that particular time in January. So I think I learned a lot from that fight, no doubt.
You mentioned the fans or lack thereof for October 14th, because one thing that I've noticed about the Loreda fight and then just seeing all of your other fights in CES is that you do not travel alone, and that is stating it lightly. It's actually pretty wild to see how many members of your circle show up for all of these fights. It's like a completely different atmosphere when it's your turn to fight, usually at Twin River or wherever these events take place. This time you're going to be in the tent, no fans. How different is that going to be for you to go from these massive, John Gotti III almost event takeover crowds to just you, your opponent, the referee, and a few other guys?
Yeah, you know what? Listen, like I said, I love our supporters and our people. It means more to me than anything when they come out and support. But I'm an introvert type of kid, and I like my space type of to be alone. So this actually suits me better to fight, with no fans. It's nice and quiet. It's almost like a high stakes sparring session, which I think I'm going to perform better and feel more comfortable doing. So I'm very excited for it. You're not going to get this chance too often, because of the circumstances. Obviously, you have to have no fans, but I'm excited to see how it feels to get out there and fight.
So you're going to fight Nick Alley next Wednesday, a local New England fighter. He's 6-3. He's won his last 3, all first-round submissions. None of his fights in his career have gone to the judges' scorecards, which seems to be right up your alley. Did you know much about Nick when you were offered this fight?
Yeah, I've heard of Nick throughout the years on the regional scene. You know, I'm definitely was familiar with him. I've seen a couple of his fights. You know, he's a tough kid. He comes to fight. He comes from a good school, so I'm sure. You know, he trained his butt off for this fight. I'm sure they have a solid game plan they're coming to bring. But we're ready for anything. You know, I have a good team, like you said, Long Island MMA and Ryan LaFlair, who came up with my own game plan. So we're ready for anybody and anything.
When were you offered this fight? Like, when did you know that this is a thing?
About a month ago. About a little over a month ago, they offered him and me the fight. We both accepted. So we both been preparing for each other for at least a little over a month now.
There you go. Were you confident that they were going to be able to pull it off? Was the date sort of like set, or were they like it's going to be around this time frame?
Yeah, they were giving me like around this time frame, like from the 14th to the 20 something. I don't know. And the date was the 17th first, then it came to the 16th, 15th, the 14th. We're meeting like head on here. Next thing you know, it's gonna be this week. So it's whatever. I'm ready. I'm in shape. My weight's awesome. I'm just ready to go.
What is your weight right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Yesterday was about 177, so I'm ahead of schedule here.
You'll be on weight by the time you get to Rhode Island.
Yeah, I'll be on weight by the end of this week if I need to, you know. So I feel good, which normally my weight cuts come down to the wire. It's literally drive up there to Rhode Island or wherever I'm fighting. You know, I just make the weight.
This sport, as you know, it's ever evolving, right? Like the more experience you get, the better you become, the better fighters you share the cage with, the better you get. And from like the 24-year-old who made his pro debut in October 2017 to the guy that we're going to see next Wednesday, what do you think is like the biggest difference between that guy to the fighter we're going to see 3 years later?
Well, listen, in these last 3 years, I've made nothing but improvements, and I've been working nonstop on improving. If you're not improving, like you said, in this sport, you're gonna get eaten because everybody's evolving every fight. So I believe I made big improvements since January. You know, I changed a lot of my style up. I worked a lot of my weaknesses. I worked on my conditioning, my kicks, stance switching, everything. So if you're not evolving in this game, you're not gonna last long because every fight you see guys, the calf kicks and stance switches, they're constantly changing their game. So I believe every fight you're going to see improvement and evolution out of my game, and God willing, it works out.
Obviously, I mean, listen, it's no secret you get a lot of attention because of your name and your family lineage. I mean, you've been asked about it ad nauseum because, you know, of who your grandfather was and the family name. And the Gotti name has a place in American history, no doubt about that. But like when you look at a guy like, say, like a James Gallagher in Bellator, like he's proud to be a friend and a teammate of Conor McGregor, but you know, he wants to be more than just the, oh yeah, that's the guy who trains with Conor. He wants to blaze his own trail and do his own thing. Are you okay with constantly being asked about the last name, or are you hoping that at some point the headlines won't always have John Gotti III, the grandson of the infamous John Gotti, is going to fight this guy, and you could be kind of like your own guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, listen, it is what it is. Every time I do fight, that's going to be brought up and it's going to be mentioned because that's my name. I have the exact name, and I'm not ashamed of it. You know, I embrace my name. I'm proud of my name, you know, and I'll do the best I can to represent my name in the best way I could. So my sons and my grandsons could walk proudly and whatnot. So I walk through fire. I'll walk through fire with my name. You know, I raise the black flag always, and I'll go to war, you know, for my name. So I'm proud of it, like I said, but it is what it is. You know, it's always going to be mentioned when I fight because it's the elephant in the room. So I don't get annoyed with it at all. It's okay.
All right, well said, well said. How do you get this thing done on October 14th against a tough tested Nick Alley? Any way
possible. You know, I'm gonna fight smart. I'm gonna fight my game. You know, I'm gonna look to pick him apart and just see what he brings. You know, I'm sure, like I said, he has the game plan. He's gonna try to pull some slick stuff, maybe some submissions or, you know, things like that. So I'm just ready for whatever. We prepared for whatever. We got hard sparring in for this camp, you know, different bodies coming in every round, bigger guys, you know, middleweights and light heavyweights. So, and I got pushed to the max this camp. It's been a long 6 months, and I'm ready to go and just have a slice of pizza or something.
There's a lot of fans who ask me specifically why you haven't been on this season of Dana White's Contender Series. Because, and I remember when we spoke after your last win, you said that you're staying patient, it's about getting better, and when you're ready to jump on that opportunity or sign with a big global promotion, you want to make the most of it. You don't want any wasted time in your career. How close do you think you are to taking that next step? Like, if you go out there on October 14th and look sensational and you put Nick away quickly, does that change things at all? Do you think you'll be ready, or do you still think you need a little bit more seasoning?
Listen, I think this fight, there's going to be a lot that comes from this fight. With a win. I think if we win and look impressively here, I have to sit down with my team and we got to discuss, the rest of the year to see what the next steps are. It may be a big next step, it may be a tiny next step, but there definitely will be something, something big depending on how we look here. So this fight's very important, I believe, the outcome of this fight, and then we'll go from there. But with a win, I'm anticipating maybe a step up. I don't know where, I don't know when, but we'll see.
Have you been offered a Contender Series fight in the past? Like, I know Dana took to social media before your last fight. He let everybody know that you're about to make the walk to the cage. You're clearly on their radar. Have there been opportunities like that presented to you?
Well, I'm sure they've been presented to my team and whatnot. But like I said, I'm just looking to take my time and gain as much experience as I can on the regional scene, because once you eventually get to a certain step, the floodgates open now. Now you're facing the elite of the elite here. So you have to be ready for everybody and everything, and you have to be on your game. Otherwise, you'll get really messed up. So, but I'm sure they've been presented, not to me personally, but I'm sure to my team, and I'm sure when the time's right and it makes sense, we'll make those steps.
I'm sure, being how you are and being sort of I guess a loner, as you like to say, you like to be alone and be by yourself. I'm sure that makes things a lot easier. You're not in this social media world where everyone's tagging you and stuff and saying, like, when are you fighting in the UFC, John? Like, this must make things a lot easier for you, right?
No, I still get the tags and whatnot, but I just, I kind of just swipe right, or what do you, swipe left? But yeah, listen, it's all love at the end of the day, and all the positive support means the world to me. So I embrace that, tenfold. But I just like my space. I'm a simple guy. Going to the movies is enough for me, or going to dinner, or just hanging out at home and watching football today. That's just the type of guy I am. So, and I'll always be like that.
Yeah, who are you watching? You got a jersey that you're gonna be wearing today, or what?
Normally I'm a Jets fan, but they break my heart every year. So I went to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady this year. I bandwagon.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to.
Wow. Is that? Yeah. I mean, as a Jets fan, that's gotta break your heart a little bit, or is it just because you're a Brady fan and now that he's not in the Patriots, you can feel better about cheering for him?
I've always been a Brady fan. I've been watching Brady since literally I'm 5 years old. So it's like a nostalgic feeling every time I see Brady, and he's competing with these kids that are 18, 19 years old. So everywhere he goes, I root for. It's hard not to root for Brady. He's just the type of guy you just need to root for. He has that type of energy to him, and all his teammates and everybody who's ever played with him has nothing but good things to say about him. So it says what kind of guy he is. I hope he does good this year, and I'm looking forward to watching him.
I never understood the hatred outside of New England for Tom Brady. It just made no sense to me. Because I grew up in the Boston area, and the Yankees suck and all that stuff. But I was a big Derek Jeter mark, and people used to give me crap about it all the time. Like, how can you hate this guy? Like, the guy plays hard. So what? Because he's a good looking guy and he makes a lot of money. We were supposed to hate him. Like, the guy worked as hard as he could and got to this position. Why hate the man? Yeah,
100%. Listen, I'll never hate anybody that's doing something positive and successful with their life. So listen, Tom Brady to me is a legend. I love Tom Brady since I'm a kid. I love him now, and I hope he wins a Super Bowl this year. I'll go out on a limb and say that as a Jet fan.
All right. Is it UFC or bust for you? Because we've seen Bellator make some big moves lately. They're signing a ton of prospects, a lot of free agents that have very high ceilings. They're investing in the future of their company. Are you open to all options and avenues here, or do you kind of have a favorite in your gut here?
Listen, I'm open to all options. At the end of the day, it comes down to what my team wants and my coaches. I'll always trust them and take their advice on anything, because they've been there before. Like Ryan LaFleur, he's been at the top of the sport. Derek Panza is a kickboxing world champion. So it's not UFC or bust necessarily. It's just what makes the most sense and where I would fit the best. That's what it comes down to for me.
Well, you seem to have your mind in the right place here, and being a New England guy myself, I am thrilled that we have some MMA in the region to look forward to. It's been a minute. It all goes down October 14th, CS 61, live and exclusively on UFC Fight Pass. Main event is this man, John Gotti III, taking on Nick Alley. John, thank you for the time, man. I really appreciate it, and all the best to you for the rest of camp and in the fight itself.
Mike, thank you. Appreciate it, Mike. Good talking to you.